Hey, welcome. So today we're tackling a really interesting question based on our source material. When the Quran uses the word Deen, does the English word religion actually capture what it means? Or, and this is the big question, does that one little word cause us to miss the entire point? All right, let's get into it.
To kind of set the mood here, check out this quote from Jamal al-Banna. He's basically saying that the original message in the Quran was open, it was adaptable. But over the centuries, human interpretations have kind of boxed it in, made it rigid, and that idea is really at the heart of everything we're looking at today.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to question that word religion. Then, we'll dig into what Deen really means according to these sources. After that, we'll see how they stack up against each other, figure out how one message supposedly shattered into many, and finally, look at the consequences of all this and the proposed way forward.
All right, let's jump right into the big problem here, the translation of one single, really important word.
This is it. This is the core question our sources are asking us to think about. We see Deen translated as religion all the time, and we just accept it. But what if that automatic translation actually changes the meaning of everything?
So the whole argument here is that when we use the word religion, we're kind of forcing a modern, maybe even a Western idea onto this ancient concept. You know, an idea that comes with baggage, clergy, specific rituals, us versus them identities. The sources we're looking at suggest Deen is something way, way bigger than that. Okay, so if religion is too small a box, then what exactly is Deen? Well, the sources say we can understand it by looking at three different but connected meanings right from the Quran.
First up, Deen is described as a complete way of life. This isn't just something you believe in private, it's a whole blueprint for how you live, morally, socially, the whole shebang. Thinking of it as a way of life makes it feel so much more comprehensive than just religion, doesn't it?
Now this is where the translation religion just completely falls apart. In the opening chapter of the Quran, which Muslims recite every single day, there's the phrase, Master of the Day of Deen, and it absolutely means the Day of Judgment. You would never, ever say Master of the Day of Religion. It just wouldn't make sense. This shows us that Deen has this huge dimension of accountability built right in.
And the third meaning really gets down to the root of the word itself, which is all about submission and devotion. It's this personal, sincere act of yielding to a higher authority. So Deen isn't a static label you wear. It's an active thing you do. It's a state of being.
Okay, so we've got a better feel for Deen now. Let's put it side by side with religion, at least as these sources define religion. And this is where the difference becomes, well, night and day.
This really cuts to the chase. On one side you have Deen. It's presented as divine, a single system designed to bring people together. It's inclusive, it's flexible. But then you have religion. And in this view, religion is a human invention. It's what divides us, creates these exclusive clubs with rigid rules, and leads to that us versus them mentality.
And the contrast goes even deeper, to an intellectual level. Deen is framed as universal, based on reason, something that actually wants you to ask questions and think for yourself. Religions, on the other hand, are seen as factional, tied to one group or one prophet, and they often rely on dogma handed down by priests or scholars, which can discourage you from questioning things.
And finally, there's a difference in sheer scope. Deen is supposed to be simple. It's about the big picture, your entire way of life. Religion, in this argument, gets tangled up in super complicated rules and rituals. It ends up becoming this small, walled-off part of your life, instead of the whole thing.
So you gotta be asking, if Deen was meant to be this one, universal path for everyone, how in the world did we end up with hundreds of different, competing religions? Well, our sources have an explanation for how that happened.
The whole story starts from this one foundational idea. Humanity began as one big family, a single community. There were no divisions from the get-go.
So how did that unity completely fall apart? This chart here lays out the story. It all starts with one community. They receive one core message, sent through different prophets over time. But then, once that knowledge is out there, human nature kicks in. Things like rivalry, jealousy, and the desire for power. And that's what created the cracks, leading people to split off and form their own separate groups, their own religions.
And wow, this verse just perfectly captures the end result, doesn't it? That original, beautiful unity was literally torn apart into different religions, and then each group became proud of its own little slice, completely forgetting they all came from the same source. So what's the big deal? What are the consequences of this split? This last section digs into the stakes, but it also offers a path back, a solution proposed by the sources we're looking at.
Now, to get the consequences, you have to understand this one critical concept.
Shirk. Most people think it just means believing in multiple gods, but its meaning here is much broader. It also means following human-made rules or clergy or traditions as if they were divine, placing them on the same level as guidance from God.
And this leads to a really provocative claim. The sources argue that creating a religion around a prophet, building an ism or an entity, is actually a form of shirk. The argument is that it takes the focus off the universal message and puts it on the messenger or on the religious leaders who follow, giving them an authority that, in this view, only belongs to God.
So, what's the solution? How do you get back to that original Deen? The sources suggest we don't need a new religion. We just need to return to the essential tools every single human is born with. Our natural inclination toward goodness, our ability to think and reason, our conscience, and our ability to work together and consult each other. It's about relying on these internal faculties instead of external, man-made structures.
And for some real-world evidence, the sources bring up something fascinating called the Islamicity Index. It basically ranks countries on how well they live up to Qur'anic values like justice, economic opportunity, and human rights. And here's the twist. The countries at the top are often secular Western nations. The argument made is that by focusing on those universal values, things that are part of Deen, and not on religious dogma, they paradoxically end up closer to the Qur'anic ideal.
And that leaves us with this final massive question to chew on. If we accept the argument that religion as we know it is a human invention that divides us, what would it actually look like to follow a universal way? A path based on reason, conscience, and our shared humanity, free from all the labels that keep us apart. It's a powerful idea to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.